The airport was a blur of sound and motion that morning, rolling suitcases, intercom announcements, the scent of coffee and jet fuel mixing in the air. Emma had always found airports bittersweet. They were filled with people chasing beginnings and endings, reunions, goodbyes, hopes packed in luggage. For her, though, this was neither beginning nor end. It was survival. She adjusted the strap of her worn backpack, keeping one hand tightly on her son. As they navigated through the busy terminal, 6-year-old Noah stumbled sleepily beside her, dragging his little Spider-Man suitcase. "Mommy," he mumbled, "I'm tired." "I know, sweetheart," she said softly, her tone patient but weary. "Just a little longer, okay? Once we get on the plane, you can sleep." She checked her phone. The screen was cracked and the time blinked mockingly at her, 7:15 a.m. Her flight to Chicago was at 8:00 and she still needed to check in. Her stomach growled, but she ignored it. There was no money to spare until the next paycheck, and besides, Noah needed the last granola bar she had packed. Emma's life had been reduced to small calculations like that, deciding between bus fare or groceries, paying rent or keeping the lights on. Yet somehow, she never let Noah see the worst of it. He thought their little one-room apartment was cozy. He thought instant noodles were fun dinner. Today, though, could be different. She'd been called for an interview in Chicago, a job as an assistant manager at a mid-sized firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid well enough to change everything. Stability, security, maybe even a home where Noah could have his own room. "Mommy, can I have juice?" Noah tugged at her sleeve, breaking her thoughts. She smiled faintly. "Sure, let's find a shop." She pulled out her purse as they approached a small kiosk, but her hand froze. The zipper was open, and the purse felt lighter. Her heart sank. She looked inside. Empty, no wallet. A cold wave of panic swept through her. She dropped to her knees right there on the terminal floor, rummaging through her backpack, then Noah's suitcase. Nothing. Her ID, her money, the tickets, all gone. "Oh no, no, no," she whispered under her breath, her pulse racing. "Mommy," Noah's voice was small, frightened. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, baby," she lied, forcing calm into her trembling voice. "Mommy just lost something." Her mind was spinning. If she didn't find that wallet, she couldn't board, couldn't even prove who she was. She'd miss the interview, miss her chance. Her hands started shaking. "Is everything okay, ma'am?" That voice, steady, low, familiar. She froze. It couldn't be. Slowly, she turned. And her heart nearly stopped. Standing there, dressed in a tailored grey suit, a sleek leather briefcase in one hand, was a man she hadn't seen in almost 10 years. Ethan Hayes. He looked older, his face sharper, jaw more defined, but his eyes were the same deep brown that used to make her forget how to breathe. His hair was shorter now, styled neatly, and there was a quiet authority in the way he stood. For a long moment, neither spoke. "Ethan," she finally whispered, her voice barely audible. His expression softened with disbelief. "Emma." The noise of the airport faded. It was as if the world had paused just for them. Ethan took a step closer. "It's been, what, 9 years?" 10, she said quietly, still stunned. "Almost 10. He smiled faintly, though there was sadness behind it. "You look the same." She laughed nervously, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "You look different, in a good way." His gaze flicked down to Noah, who was half hiding behind her leg, clutching his toy airplane. Ethan frowned slightly. "Is he?" "My son," Emma said quickly. "Right," Ethan said, nodding. "He's handsome." He crouched slightly, smiling at the boy. "Hey there, buddy, I'm Ethan." Noah blinked at him, then whispered, "Hi." Ethan stood again, his attention shifting back to Emma. "You look worried. Did something happen?" She sighed, embarrassed. "My wallet, I had it a minute ago, it's gone." He looked around immediately, scanning the area like a man used to solving problems. "When did you last have it?" "Maybe at the check-in counter, or near the bench." "Stay here," he said firmly, then turned and strode off toward an airport officer with quiet confidence. She watched him speak briefly, gesture, then disappear around a corner. Within minutes, he returned, holding something in his hand, her wallet. "I think this is yours," he said with a small grin. Her mouth fell open. "How?" "It was sitting on a bench near the coffee kiosk. You probably dropped it while helping Noah." She took it from him, her eyes filling with relief. "Oh, thank God. Thank you, Ethan. Really, I don't know what I'd have done." He smiled softly. "You always did lose things when you were nervous." She laughed through the lump in her throat. "And you always showed up to fix them." For a moment, the air between them grew thick with memories. Summer nights by the lake, whispered promises under starlit skies, the tearful goodbye before he left for college. He promised to come back. She believed him, but life had its own plans. Ethan cleared his throat, breaking the silence. Where are you flying? Chicago, she said. Job interview. If I get it, it could really help. He nodded thoughtfully. Chicago, that's my destination too. Her brows lifted. Oh. Business trip, he said casually. Maybe we could catch up on the flight. She hesitated. The past was a place she'd spent years trying to leave behind, but something in his tone, gentle, hopeful, made it hard to say no. Just coffee, she said finally, nothing more. He smiled. Just coffee. They walked toward the gate together. Noah, surprisingly, reached out and took Ethan's hand. It startled Emma, but Ethan only smiled and squeezed it gently. I used to have a toy plane like that when I was your age, he said to the boy. Maybe you'll be a pilot someday. No, Noah said seriously. I want to be a superhero. Ethan chuckled. Good choice. As they boarded, Emma couldn't help noticing how the flight attendants greeted Ethan with deference, how he moved with quiet confidence, like someone used to being respected. She wondered briefly what he did for a living but didn't ask. It wasn't her place anymore. During takeoff, Ethan leaned slightly toward her. You nervous? Always, she admitted, smiling faintly. Planes make me feel small. He looked at her, his voice warm. You were never small, Emma. You just forgot how strong you are. Her breath caught, and she turned toward the window, blinking away unexpected tears. As the plane soared through the clouds, Ethan opened his laptop, briefly revealing an email signature that made her pause. Ethan Hayes, CEO, Hayes Industries. Her eyes widened. CEO, Hayes Industries. That name sounded familiar. She'd seen it in magazines, news headlines. Something about a multi-million-dollar tech empire. She looked at him, but he was focused on his screen, typing quickly, calm as ever. She turned back to the window, her mind racing. The boy who once worked double shifts to afford textbooks, the man sitting beside her now owned one of the biggest companies in the country. And she was just a struggling single mom trying to make rent. Life, it seemed, had a cruel sense of irony. But as she watched Ethan glance at Noah and smile, genuine, kind, unchanged at his core, she felt something she hadn't in years. Hope. Because maybe, just maybe, fate had brought him back for a reason. The flight landed smoothly in Chicago under a soft grey sky. The hum of the engines faded and the seatbelt signs clicked off. Emma gathered Noah's things, still feeling the strange buzz of the past few hours. Sitting beside Ethan had been surreal. 10 years ago, he had been the boy who promised her the world under a fading sunset. Now he was a man who had built his own. As they walked off the plane, Ethan offered to help with her luggage. She tried to decline, but he insisted, carrying her worn suitcase effortlessly in one hand while his phone buzzed with messages from someone named Megan, board meeting. Busy man, she said, half teasing, half distant. He glanced at her. Comes with the territory, but some things are worth slowing down for. Her heart gave a small, traitorous flutter. She forced a smile. Well, thank you for helping me today, really. You didn't have to. Emma, he said, stopping near the exit, you'd have done the same. She hesitated. Maybe she would have, but she was no longer the girl who believed in simple kindness and forever promises. Life had toughened her edges. Noah tugged her sleeve. Mommy, can Mr. Ethan come with us? She froze, glancing at Ethan, who smiled warmly. I'd like to, but I don't want to intrude. Before Emma could answer, the airport loudspeaker announced a delay for another flight. The sound seemed to punctuate the moment, a pause in time neither of them knew how to fill. They ended up in the cafe again, a small table by the window overlooking the runway. Emma stirred her coffee, lost in thought, while Noah munched happily on a cookie. Ethan sat across from them, looking more relaxed now, his jacket off, tie loosened. So, he began carefully, how have you really been, Emma? She took a breath, eyes fixed on the swirling coffee. Honestly, I've been managing. It's been just me and Noah for a long time. Things haven't been easy. He nodded, watching her with quiet empathy. His dad isn't around. No, she said, her tone calm but clipped. He left when Noah was 2, said he wasn't ready for responsibility. Ethan clenched his jaw. Coward. She gave a sad little smile. Maybe, but I learned to stop being angry about it. Anger doesn't pay bills. He admired her honesty, her quiet resilience. The girl he'd once loved had grown into a woman of strength. He couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt for leaving her behind, for not being there when she needed someone most. "You deserve better than just managing," he said softly. She met his eyes for a brief moment, and something in his gaze made her chest ache. "And you seem to be doing more than managing." He chuckled. "You could say that. I started a company right after graduation. A few lucky breaks, a few all-nighters, and suddenly I'm running a corporation I can barely keep up with." Her eyes widened. "You mean Hayes Industries, that's you?" He looked almost embarrassed. "Yeah, I didn't want to mention it on the plane. It feels weird saying it out loud." For a moment she was speechless. She'd read about Hayes Industries, cutting-edge technology, international deals, charity foundations. Ethan Hayes, CEO, featured in Forbes under Top 30 Under 30. The realization hit her like a wave. The man sipping coffee in front of her wasn't just her old flame. He was one of the youngest self-made millionaires in the country. "You really made it," she said softly. He shrugged. "Maybe, but sometimes success feels empty." She tilted her head. "Empty? You have everything people dream of." "Everything but peace," he admitted. "And people who knew me before all of this, people who didn't care about the money." His eyes lingered on hers. "People like you." Her heart skipped. She wanted to look away but couldn't. 10 years fell away in that single gaze. Before either could say more, Noah climbed into Ethan's lap, showing him a drawing he'd made, a stick-figure family, a boy, a woman with brown hair, and a man in a suit, all holding hands under a sun. Ethan smiled softly. "That's beautiful, buddy. Who's this?" Noah pointed. "That's you." Emma's cheeks flushed. "Noah." But Ethan laughed, warmth in his tone. "I'm honored." When the announcement for boarding came, Emma stood quickly, trying to compose herself. "We should go. My interview's in 2 hours." Ethan walked beside them through the terminal. "Where's the interview?" She told him the name of the company, Grant and Mayer Associates. He raised an eyebrow. "Small world, they're one of our partner firms." Her steps faltered. "You're kidding." He shook his head. "Not at all. I have a few contacts there." She frowned. "Ethan, don't, please. I don't want any favors." He smiled gently. "I know you don't, but I can vouch for your character, not your resume." She sighed but said nothing more. When they landed in Chicago, Ethan offered them a ride. His car, a sleek black Mercedes, waited outside, along with a polite driver who greeted him with, "Good afternoon, Mr. Hayes." Emma blinked. "Mr. Hayes?" Ethan laughed lightly. "I told you it sounds weird when people say it." Noah's eyes went wide. "You have a driver, cool." "Sometimes," Ethan said with a wink. "Mostly I drive myself." In the car, the city sped by in flashes of steel and glass. Emma looked out the window, thinking how different their lives had become. His world of luxury, her world of struggle. They had been so close once. Now it felt like 1,000 miles stood between them, even sitting side by side. Halfway through the drive, her phone rang. She picked it up, listened for a few seconds, and her face fell. "What's wrong?" Ethan asked. "It's the company," she said weakly. "They moved the interview up by 30 minutes. I'll never make it in time." Ethan looked at his driver. "How long?" 40 minutes with traffic, sir." "Not acceptable," Ethan muttered, pulling out his phone. "Who's the hiring manager?" "Ethan," she began, alarmed. He ignored her protests, calling someone named Tom. "Hey Tom, Ethan Hayes. Listen, I'm sending someone your way, Emma Brooks. She's coming in for an interview. She's one of the sharpest, most determined people I've ever known. Do me a favor and hear her out, okay? You won't regret it." He hung up before she could argue. "Ethan, you didn't have to do that," she said, half angry, half overwhelmed. "I know," he said calmly, "but I wanted to." The driver smiled in the rearview mirror. "Don't worry, ma'am. When Mr. Hayes makes a call, doors open." She blushed. "That's not the point." Ethan turned to her, his expression earnest. "You've fought alone long enough, Emma. Let someone help for once." His words hit deeper than she expected. Maybe because she was tired of fighting, of surviving, of pretending she didn't need anyone. When they arrived, she thanked him quickly and ran into the building. Before she disappeared inside, she turned back and saw him standing by the car, watching her with a quiet smile that said more than words ever could. 2 weeks passed. Emma got the job. Her salary was better than she dared to hope, and the office atmosphere was warm, professional, everything she needed. She sent Ethan a thank you text. "I got it, thank you for everything." No reply came. She assumed he'd moved on, back to his world of meetings and business deals. She tried to do the same, though his face kept sneaking into her thoughts, his calm voice, the warmth in his eyes when he looked at Noah. Then one Friday evening, there was a knock at her apartment door. She opened it and froze. Ethan stood there holding a small bouquet of lilies and Noah's forgotten toy airplane. "You left this in my car," he said, smiling gently, "and I thought maybe we could finish that coffee." Her throat tightened. "Ethan, why are you really here?" He took a step closer, his eyes soft. "Because I spent years building a life that meant nothing without someone to share it with. I don't want to miss my chance again." She swallowed hard. "Ethan, I have a son, a simple life, I'm not." He interrupted softly. "You're everything I ever wanted, Emma. You always were." For the first time in years, she couldn't find words. Her eyes filled and she nodded slightly. Behind her, Noah peeked out, grinning. "Mr. Ethan, are you staying for dinner?" Ethan laughed. "If your mom says yes." She looked at them both, the boy who gave her purpose and the man who once gave her dreams, and smiled through her tears. "Dinner on me." As the door closed behind them, laughter filled the apartment, light and easy. For the first time in a decade, Emma didn't feel like she was surviving. She was finally living again.